Consider the last time someone did you wrong. What was your immediate reaction? For many of us, these situations trigger frustration, anger, or even a need to retaliate. But here's the thing. Our initial reactions often don't reflect who we truly are. They reflect a mind caught up in automatic judgments. Stoicism asks us to take a step back, to pause before reacting, and to decide if that initial judgment aligns with our deeper values. Stoicism is a philosophy that has mastered the art of responding over reacting, a practice that goes beyond just keeping a calm exterior. The ancient Stoics like Epictetus, Seneca, and Marcus Aurelius understood a powerful truth. We suffer more in our interpretation of events than in the events themselves. They recognized that we are constantly adding value judgments to everything we experience, labeling situations as good or bad, fair or unjust. But these judgments often distort our reality. As Marcus Aurelius writes in his Meditations, if you are pained by any external thing, it is not this thing that disturbs you, but your own judgment about it. And it is in your power to wipe out this judgment now. Now, why is this so important? Because when we fail to strip away our judgments and the labels we put on things, to see the situation as it is rather than through a lens of disappointment or resentment, we often see them as negative. This failure to see things objectively, to see them as they are, and not as we want to see them, leads to immediate reactions that are almost always not in our best interests. In fact, most of our stress and frustration come from our immediate reactions that often reflect our insecurities, fears, or pride rather than our true selves. When someone criticizes us, our knee-jerk reaction might be to defend ourselves, to fight back, or to take the criticism personally. But this reaction doesn't serve us. It traps us in a cycle of defensiveness and resentment. Stoicism teaches us that by observing and reframing these judgments, we can find freedom. We can brush off insults with the same calm detachment we'd feel if someone were speaking nonsense in a language we don't understand. In our conversation today, we'll explore various strategies that draw from both modern psychology and Stoic philosophy to help you develop this responsive mindset. We'll look at how to cultivate mindfulness, the importance of identifying and expressing your emotions constructively, and how to keep the bigger picture in mind, a perspective that the Stoics excelled at. By the end of this discussion, you'll have a toolkit of strategies to help you pause, assess, and respond thoughtfully to whatever life throws your way. If you appreciate what we are doing here, do us a simple, free favor by liking the video and subscribing to the channel. And do watch the video till the end to get the mindfulness needed to train your mind to respond, not react. We post videos that explore Stoicism and its principles every week, sometimes multiple times a week, whenever serious consideration and thought allow it. Now let's get into it. This is real talk for tough people. The Stoic way. Don't skip it, don't rush it. Hook those earphones up and let things go. The importance of responding over reacting. In our journey to understand the power of responding rather than reacting, we enter a space where each thought and action is deliberate, where we slow down to consider what truly serves our well-being and long-term goals. This approach, central to Stoicism, asks us to cultivate awareness, to look inward before we act outwardly, and to choose a course that reflects our values rather than our impulses. The Stoics, those ancient philosophers who understood the nature of the mind perhaps better than anyone, believed that true strength lies in this deliberate choice, in our ability to respond with intention rather than be swept away by the tide of our immediate emotions. But why is it so vital to train ourselves to respond instead of reacting? Let's expand on the idea of adding value judgments to everything we experience. Picture a moment when you're faced with a challenge or conflict. Maybe it's a disagreement with a loved one, or perhaps a high-stakes situation at work. Our instinctive reaction in these moments is often driven by our emotions, frustration, fear, or pride. These emotions are powerful, and while they serve a purpose, they can also lead us astray if left unchecked. A reaction driven by pride might cause us to say something we don't mean, while frustration could push us to make a hasty decision that creates regret. By reacting, we give power to the moment, to fleeting emotions, to our knee-jerk instincts. This is where Stoic wisdom shines. The Stoics taught us that true mastery over life doesn't come from controlling what happens around us. It comes from controlling how we interpret and respond to what happens. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." By training ourselves to pause, to look at our immediate impulses with a clear eye, we begin to understand that not every feeling deserves a reaction. Not every challenge deserves an emotional outburst. We learn to filter our emotions through reason, aligning our actions with our deeper values rather than with our transient moods. Responding instead of reacting means taking a moment to pause when confronted with a triggering event. This pause, though brief, is profound. In it, we can observe our emotional state, detach from the immediate surge of feelings, and ask ourselves, what outcome do I actually want here? Does this reaction reflect who I want to be? By stepping back, even for a moment, we regain control, opening up the possibility to choose a response that aligns with who we truly are, rather than being swept away by who we temporarily feel we are. This doesn't mean suppressing emotions or denying that we feel them. Instead, the Stoic approach is about acknowledging emotions as they arise, understanding their sources, and then deciding consciously how they should or shouldn't shape our actions. Picture someone insulting you. Your instinct might be to snap back, to defend yourself, to counter with an insult of your own. But this reaction traps you in a cycle of defensiveness and anger, leaving you feeling unsettled long after the exchange is over. If, instead, you respond thoughtfully, perhaps by recognizing that the insult says more about the other person than it does about you, and choosing to disengage or reply calmly, you protect your own peace, grounding yourself in integrity rather than reactivity. And the impact of responding with thoughtfulness extends far beyond inner peace. It affects the quality of our relationships, the strength of our leadership, and our ability to face adversity with resilience. When we respond rather than react, we show others that we value their perspectives, that we're capable of respecting differences without allowing our ego to disrupt the conversation. This response isn't about being passive, it's about leading with intention and showing strength through self-control. In fact, responding thoughtfully is one of the most powerful ways to influence and inspire others, demonstrating that true leadership comes from within. Consider the ripple effect of a thoughtful response. In a challenging situation, when someone sees you respond with calm and balance rather than with anger or defensiveness, it can change the entire tone of the interaction. By choosing a measured response, you open the door to constructive dialogue, fostering respect and understanding. This approach doesn't just influence the immediate situation, it models for others a way to handle difficulties with dignity and resilience, potentially changing the dynamic of your relationships and interactions in the long run. Ultimately, training our minds to respond rather than react is about choosing a life of integrity, wisdom, and strength over one of impulsivity and regret. The Stoics knew that life is full of challenges, that hardships and conflicts are inevitable. What they taught, though, is that within each moment lies the choice to face these challenges with equanimity, grounded in the understanding that our responses are what define us. By cultivating this strength, By aligning our actions with our values rather than with the impulses of the moment, we take control of our lives in the deepest, most meaningful way. Strategies for training the mind. Embarking on the journey to train the mind to respond rather than react is no small feat. It's a practice that goes beyond intention, requiring dedication, patience, and a commitment to self-mastery. This is the essence of Stoic philosophy, which teaches us that cultivating a responsive rather than reactive mind is one of the most transformative paths we can pursue. The Stoics understood that a life led by reaction is a life led by circumstance, while a life led by response is a life shaped by intention and clarity. By following their teachings, we gain access to timeless techniques that build inner resilience, strength, and the ability to meet life's challenges with composure and purpose. Let's begin with the foundation of self-awareness, a cornerstone of Stoic thought and an essential step in training our mind. Self-awareness, as the Stoics practiced it, means becoming acutely attuned to our internal states, our thoughts, emotions, and impulses. Self-awareness is like a mirror for the mind. It allows us to observe our immediate reactions without becoming them. When we are aware of our own mental and emotional responses, we become less likely to act out of habit and more likely to act with purpose. Think of self-awareness as a spotlight illuminating the first hints of frustration, fear, or impatience. With this light, we can recognize our impulses as they arise, giving us the chance to observe them rather than be controlled by them. This is the first step in responding rather than reacting. Following self-awareness, the practice of pausing becomes our next powerful tool, something we've already touched upon, but which cannot be overemphasized. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, often referred to the importance of taking a mental step back when confronted with difficulty, as did Seneca in his Letters from a Stoic. This pause is the gap between stimulus and response, a small but potent space where we have the power to choose our next move. The act of pausing, even for a breath, gives us room to engage our rational mind and to quiet our immediate impulses. In this pause, we can take a deep breath, bring our attention to the present, and remember what truly matters. We can ask ourselves, why am I being an idiot right now? Why not give my values a chance for once? This momentary pause is not a delay, it's a recalibration, a way to anchor ourselves in purpose before moving forward. Reframing our perspective is another practice the Stoics held in high regard. Life presents challenges, and often our first reaction is one of discomfort or resistance. The Stoic art of reframing encourages us to view situations from a new angle, one that removes emotional charge and reveals growth opportunities. Imagine, for instance, facing criticism. Our initial reaction might be to feel defensive or hurt, even fear. But what if instead we reframe this comment by asking ourselves an important question? How else am I ever going to get better? It's either going to be me questioning myself and giving feedback, or them. And if it's indeed them who are giving me the valuable feedback I need, why do I grow averse to it? By shifting our perspective, we take control of our narrative, reducing the influence of negative emotions and opening ourselves up to respond constructively. This change in narrative empowers us to handle situations with composure and to see obstacles as chances to develop resilience. The Stoics also emphasized focusing on what we can control and releasing what we cannot, a practice that transforms our mindset and fosters equanimity. Much of our stress comes from a futile desire to control people, events, or outcomes that lie outside our power. When we focus our energy solely on what we can control, our thoughts, actions, and responses, we free ourselves from the frustration of trying to change what is beyond us. Imagine facing a tense or uncertain situation. Rather than worrying about the outcome, which is beyond our control, we can choose to focus on our own conduct, to respond with integrity and patience. This isn't about passivity, it's about directing our energy wisely. We become like an archer who aims for excellence in the shot, knowing the outcome is not fully theirs to control. This shift in focus empowers us to approach challenges with strength and clarity, free from the anxiety that comes from trying to control the uncontrollable. Lastly, consistent reflection and adjustment is the Stoic practice that completes this journey of training the mind. The Stoics, especially Seneca and Marcus Aurelius, practiced daily self-examination, reviewing their actions, decisions, and progress toward virtue. This habit of reflection keeps us aligned with our values and helps us learn from our experiences. By ending each day with a brief moment of reflection, we can ask ourselves, how thoughtfully did I respond today? Where did I allow reactivity to take over? Let me make it a point to respond better tomorrow. This ongoing process of assessment is key to cultivating a responsive mindset. It allows us to learn from our actions, to celebrate our progress, and to grow from our setbacks. Each reflection strengthens our commitment to responding with wisdom and resilience, reinforcing the path we've chosen. In integrating these Stoic practices into our lives, we do more than follow the teachings of ancient philosophers. We embody their wisdom, empowering ourselves to live with greater peace, purpose, and effectiveness. Self-awareness, pausing, reframing, focusing on our control, and consistent reflection, these are more than techniques. They are stepping stones on the path to mastering ourselves and living intentionally. With sustained practice, we transform our minds, enabling them to become vessels of reason, compassion, and clarity. We become people who don't just react to the world, but respond to it with intention, creating lives that reflect our highest values and aspirations. This is the essence of Stoicism, and it's available to each of us here and now as we commit to the journey of training our minds to respond rather than react. Mindfulness practices. Mindfulness, at its essence, is about cultivating a profound awareness of the present moment. It's the practice of observing our thoughts, emotions, and physical sensations without judgment, which allows us to see them clearly and understand their influence on us. This practice aligns perfectly with Stoic wisdom and the Stoic pursuit of living with purpose and awareness. The Stoics taught that only in the present moment do we have the power to act, to choose, and to align our actions with our highest values. By cultivating mindfulness, we equip ourselves to be fully present, which is essential to training our mind to respond with intention rather than react on impulse. A practical starting point for mindfulness is focused attention exercises like breath meditation. This is as simple as it sounds, sitting quietly, paying attention to each breath as it enters and leaves your body. You may notice that the mind will wander. Thoughts, plans, worries will arise, but each time it does, you gently guide it back to the breath. This is more than just a relaxation technique. It's a way to train the mind in attention and presence. Each time we bring our attention back, we strengthen our ability to focus, which is invaluable when facing life's daily distractions and challenges. It's in this act of returning to the breath over and over that we build the mental muscle of staying present and centered, allowing us to respond rather than react. Another way to bring mindfulness into daily life is through mindful observation of routine activities. Simple tasks, eating, walking, washing the dishes, become opportunities for cultivating presence. Imagine eating a meal with full attention, noticing the colors, textures, and flavors of each bite without rushing or distractions. This mindful engagement turns an ordinary moment into an extraordinary experience. By practicing this in small, daily tasks, we increase our capacity to be present in more significant moments too. We become less likely to let our minds wander into worries or judgments, which can cloud our responses. Mindful observation deepens our experience of life, training us to be fully engaged in every situation, a habit that fosters a calm and reasoned response in times of challenge. Body scan meditation is another powerful technique that strengthens our mindfulness and body awareness. This practice involves mentally scanning through different parts of the body, bringing attention to each area without judgment. Starting from the head and working down to the feet, we notice any tension, discomfort, or sensation, observing without trying to change anything. This process not only cultivates a stronger connection with our physical selves, but also helps us recognize how emotional stress or reactivity can be stored in the body as tension. This aligns with the Stoic perspective on bodily experiences. We learn to see sensations and emotions without letting them dictate our actions, which is key to responding with equanimity. By observing our physical state, we can release unnecessary tensions and calm ourselves before choosing a response. Mindfulness also transforms our interactions with others, fostering more meaningful and compassionate relationships. In a Stoic-inspired approach to communication, we bring our full attention to those we interact with, listening without judgment and focusing on understanding rather than reacting. This requires presence, setting aside our thoughts, opinions, or agendas to fully hear what the other person is saying. Imagine being in a conversation where you're not just waiting for your turn to speak, but instead are genuinely engaged in understanding the other person's perspective. This kind of mindful communication fosters deeper connection and respect and encourages more thoughtful responses. It aligns with the Stoic value of empathy and the recognition that others too are rational beings dealing with their own challenges. At the core of all these practices is a commitment to living in the present, which allows us to observe our own thoughts and reactions with clarity. With each mindful moment, we deepen our capacity for self-awareness, an essential quality in Stoicism. The Stoics believed that the path to wisdom begins with knowing ourselves, our thoughts, our habits, our triggers. Through mindfulness, we gain insight into our emotional responses and motivations, which empowers us to shape our responses with wisdom. This awareness becomes a foundation for cultivating patience, resilience, and equanimity, qualities that define a Stoic-inspired life. But mindfulness doesn't end with individual practices. It's a mindset we carry with us throughout the day. The Stoics emphasize the importance of reflecting on our thoughts and actions, and mindfulness allows us to do this in real time. Each time we notice a thought, an emotion, or an impulse, we're given a choice to act on it impulsively or to pause and choose a response. This habit of mindful reflection keeps us grounded in our values, reminding us that we don't have to be driven by fleeting emotions or desires. By embracing these mindfulness practices, we honor the Stoic principles of self-mastery and purposeful action. Through persistent practice, we don't just become more mindful, we transform our entire way of being. We become people who respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively, who approach life with grace, wisdom, and composure, even in the face of adversity. Implementing response over reaction. Now let's shift our focus toward the practical application of these principles, aiming to cultivate a lifestyle where responding thoughtfully takes precedence over reactive impulses. This journey toward response over reaction is not about suppressing or denying our natural reflexes. It's about enriching our engagement with life, embracing the Stoic virtue of living with deliberate intention and reasoned judgment. It's about facing each day with a commitment to live purposefully, where each decision reflects our values and ideals. To embody these insights, we need daily practices that anchor us in the art of responding. Let's revisit some of the challenging situations we've already looked at during the video. Imagine yourself in a situation that challenges your patience, maybe a tense discussion at work, a difficult conversation with a loved one, or an unexpected setback that disrupts your plans. As we've already seen, our immediate impulse might be to react from a place of frustration or disappointment, emotions that tend to color our perception and narrow our focus. But this is exactly the moment to engage our Stoic-inspired training, to pause and consider the situation from a wider perspective. By asking ourselves, what would a Stoic philosopher do? We step back from the heat of the moment, inviting reason to guide our response. This question, what would a Stoic philosopher do, is not a call for emotional suppression. Instead, it's an invitation to engage our rational mind, to dispassionately evaluate the situation, and to identify constructive responses. Stoicism doesn't deny the value of emotions, it merely seeks to channel them in ways that serve our growth and align with our values. This means acknowledging our feelings, understanding what triggers them, and then choosing to respond in a way that reflects who we aspire to be. Colleagues from work and their criticism are the best examples of this. Taking the criticism constructively without being defensive, without reacting impulsively, we can pause, assess the feedback objectively, and decide if there's something constructive to learn. This approach transforms criticism from a trigger into a tool for growth. Practically speaking, this could mean taking a brief walk to clear your mind before responding to an upsetting email, or stepping back from a disagreement to reflect on what's truly bothering you, focusing on underlying issues rather than reacting to surface irritations. Every time you choose to respond instead of react, you reinforce a pattern of thoughtful engagement with life's challenges, building resilience and cultivating an inner peace that transcends daily irritations. Integrating these practices into our daily routines amplifies their impact. For instance, beginning your day with a moment of reflection can set a clear intention to respond thoughtfully in every situation. This simple ritual doesn't have to be complex. It could be a brief meditation, a few deep breaths, or setting a clear intention. Starting your day with this mindset can make a profound difference, grounding you in your commitment to respond with clarity and purpose throughout the day. Journaling is another powerful tool in cultivating a responsive mindset. At the end of each day, take a few minutes to reflect on how you responded to various situations. Did you maintain your composure in the face of stress? Did you react impulsively, or did you take a moment to consider your response? Celebrate the moments when you were able to respond thoughtfully and identify areas where you may have reacted too quickly. This habit of self-reflection deepens your self-awareness and helps you make incremental improvements each day, reinforcing your commitment to response over reaction. Additionally, cultivating a mindset of continuous learning and adaptation allows us to grow in our practice of thoughtful response. Each day offers fresh opportunities to refine this skill. Every interaction is a chance to observe, learn, and adjust. When a challenging situation arises, see it as an opportunity to practice the art of responding with wisdom and patience. The Stoics embraced the idea of life as a training ground for virtue, and we can do the same. Each difficult conversation, each stressful moment is an opportunity to strengthen our ability to stay calm, composed, and guided by our values. By committing to this path, we're not simply adopting a strategy for managing stress or avoiding conflict. We're embracing a way of life that reflects the Stoic pursuit of virtue and wisdom. We are choosing to live with intentionality, to align our actions with our highest ideals, and to cultivate a mindset that is resilient in the face of adversity. This is a way of living that not only transforms our relationship with ourselves, but also positively impacts those around us. When we respond thoughtfully, we create a ripple effect, encouraging others to do the same, contributing to a world that is more reasoned, compassionate, and grounded. So, by integrating these Stoic-inspired practices, setting intentions, pausing, reflecting, and continually refining our responses, we are crafting a life of meaning and purpose. We are shaping a world where thoughtfulness prevails over impulse, where reason leads over reaction. In training your mind to respond instead of react, you're not just controlling your temper, you're building a foundation of self-mastery. With each small but powerful pause, each conscious choice, you're learning to guard your mind against the chaos of external circumstances. You're practicing the art of seeing things clearly without the cloud of passion or prejudice. And over time, this practice transforms you. You become resilient, unshakable, a person who meets life's challenges with courage, wisdom, and equanimity. Remember this, you have the power to choose your response. If you like what we do, feel free to do more by liking and sharing the video, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, to the community. How, you ask? By hitting that like button as a symbol of your commitment to change, by subscribing to join a community where wisdom isn't just shared but lived to help us create powerful stuff. And don't forget to hit the notification bell, the gentle chime of a Stoic philosopher, reminding you to return to this space of learning and growth. Each like, each subscription, each notification is a step towards a collective awakening. And if you feel that stirring in your heart, a resonance with the words of Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, or Epictetus, share this video. That will help us immensely in continuing to create unique and powerful stuff for the community. Everything changes when you truly hear what Stoicism has been telling us all along. Everything gets better. Your self-discipline, your self-control, your temperance, your cultivation of inner peace and resilience, your self-awareness, your equanimity. You practice forgiveness more often. You stop caring what others think. You start to live with a sense of calm, clarity, and purpose. Even the practice of Stoic principles of the dichotomy of control, negative visualization, memento mori, amor fati, and the view from above gets easier and, more importantly, effective.